Solving word problems. This is SOHCAHTOA at its finest. It's review from geometry. The hardest part is the algebra within the problem, not the trig, the algebra. Make sure you're drawing a picture for every single problem. First, angle of elevation. If I'm looking straight, this is a person looking straight. Angle of elevation is looking up. So this is typically what your triangle looks like. Angle of depression. If a person's looking straight, and then here's my person, they look down. This is typically what my triangle looks like. However, either case, either scenario, if you always draw a right triangle like this or like this, and always put the angle of elevation or depression in this corner, you can't go wrong. First, you should draw a picture. Always draw a picture. Whoops a daisy. Angle of elevation is 11 degrees right here. The rocket launch pad is 5 miles away, so that would be a horizontal distance. How high is the rocket in the air? The hardest thing that you have to do about these questions, remember to put it in degrees. You have to make sure your calculator is in degrees for word problems. So it's TOA, opposite, and adjacent. So always actually write up your equation. Tangent of 11 of your angle is equal to my opposite over my adjacent. You always want to get rid of this division first, so opposite dividing is multiplying. My x is already by itself now, so that's what I plug into my calculator. And you get 0.97 miles. That's how 0.97 miles up in the air the rocket is. A girl standing safely on top of a cliff sees a boy below. Now, one thing about a problem, be careful if you have to add a distance. In this case, I don't. It's asking what is the angle of elevation, saying what's this angle right here if the cliff is 100 feet atop and the boy is standing 50 feet away from the cliff. So again, I have my opposite, adjacent, so it's tan of your angle is equal to your opposite over your adjacent. I need to get rid of tan. I need to get rid of the trig function tan, so I have to do inverse tan on one side, inverse tan on the other side. These two cancel, so my angle would be 63 degrees. For angles, you should always round to the nearest angle. This is one is much harder just because you're looking for two things. So it says a helicopter is hovering someplace. This is my helicopter. I am not good at drawing, so I'm not going to try to draw something good. That's my helicopter. It's 800 feet above. And then there's this truck. And at first when the truck sees this helicopter, the truck driver observes the helicopter at 20-degree angle of elevation. This angle right here, the truck is right here, is 20 degrees. And then it drives 25 seconds. And now the angle of elevation is 65 degrees. It's asking how far did the truck drive, so this distance right here, this purple distance, and it's asking for how fast did it move. So if I say this is x, let's say this is y, and let's say this is z. Now I can still solve this with SOHCAHTOA. So when I'm solving this, I'm going to solve for z first. Now I'm dealing with this triangle right here. For both of these problems, I have my opposite and my adjacent. These are adjacent. But I'm dealing with two separate triangles. So in order to figure out what x is equal to, I'm going to have to take z and subtract off y. That will give me x. That will give me a distance that I traveled. So both of them is going to be tangent. And what we prefer you to do is write out the equation first and then type it all into your calculator at one time, so that's most precise. So if I'm first looking for z, opposite over my adjacent will be tangent of my angle is equal to my opposite over my adjacent. Now I want to get z by itself because it's z minus a. So I would multiply this side by z. Then I notice, well, z is not by itself yet, so I still have to get z by itself. Again, we got rid of that division. So I have to do the opposite here, which is the opposite of multiplying. So z is going to be equal to 800 minus tan of 20. Now the other one is going to be the same process for y, except now it's going to be tan of 65 is equal to my opposite over my adjacent. And you multiply over here, and then you divide your tan, so y is equal to 800 divided by tan of 65. So now I can take those two and subtract them. Taking this and subtract this, that will give my x. So once I subtract them, my first answer would be 1,824.94 feet. I was asking also, how fast did you drive? Well, I have my one answer, that's how many feet I drove. I'm asking for how far to drive feet per second. And it's feet per, you drove 25 seconds. So you take that and divide by 25. So I traveled 1,824.94 feet at 72, actually we're going to just round that to 73 feet per second. So these would be my two answers for this word problem. Again, these problems are not usually that difficult. It's the algebra within them that can be the most difficult.